Today I'm here with Nuno. Thank you, Nuno, so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Nuno is going to talk all about opening foreign enterprises in China, the step-by-steps of getting started, but also, is it better to open a company in Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Macau? Where is the best place to open a company right now in this side of the world? So once again, thank you for joining.
Thank you for inviting me today.
Okay, talk a little bit about your background so people can understand where you're coming from.
Exactly. So, I arrived in China actually in 2008, just after the Olympics. Actually, I came from Thailand, and then before I was in Spain, where I finished my studies. I did an MBA then in Peking University, and I kind of started helping some of my friends setting up their businesses in China. Because when you are in China, your friends back home always ask you questions.
Right.
How do you bring your business to China? How do you set up your business in China? So I did that first as like almost like a hobby, right? Helping my friends. But then I realized I was actually having a lot of knowledge and connections that could help a lot of people. So I decided to start a company to see how it go, and it just grew naturally until the point that we had an office in Beijing. Now we're here in Shenzhen. We also grow to Macau and Hong Kong. And we've been helping hundreds of companies to start their businesses in China, either accelerating or incubating or just expanding their already business in the market.
Lovely. Yeah, you guys were recommended by me by a very, very good friend, which is in the startup scenario. And I came here the other day to talk with Nuno about, just getting to know him and his company. And what they're doing is really, really amazing. And I just believe that a lot of people have so many questions when they are trying to, start a business in China. So this episode is going to be focusing on that. So I hope we can cover some of the questions that a lot of people have when it comes to opening companies in China. So let's talk about the step-by-step process of starting a foreign enterprise in this side of the world. So what would be the step number one that we need to look at?
Well, the first thing we try to understand what is the client's needs, right? And if he wants to set up what kind of business he wants to set up. If he wants to set up, for example, as an individual person, if he has partners, if he has Chinese partners, that's a big influence on the kind of business that he wants to do. But here, let's assume that we want to set up a WOFE, right? So a WOFE, it means a wholly foreign-owned enterprise,
Right.
which means it will be 100% owned by either a foreign individual or a foreign entity. Now, when we do the first approach, we try to understand if the client has a need to bring, for example, business overseas to China, or if his main suppliers and clients will be in China. Now, if it's the second option, which is the most simple option, we basically just advise the client to use his name to set up the WOFE in China as a single shareholder and as an individual person. Now, let's say this client wants to do trading with overseas, or he wants to bring an existing product to China. So that involves always, some cash flow in and out of China. In this case, we usually advise the client to make a holding company either in Hong Kong or Macau for the purposes of bringing this connection between China, which is still a fairly closed market to the outside, especially economically. So we need a bridge to link, the Western markets to China. We usually use Hong Kong or Macau. Now, what we can do if the client pursues this option, we set up the holding, let's say in Hong Kong, and then we use the holding in Hong Kong to be the shareholder of the WOFE in China, because a Hong Kong company is recognized as a foreign entity in China.
Right.
So we can do that. So as I was saying, we can set up the holding in Hong Kong, and then have the holding to be 100% shareholder of the Chinese company, since it's recognized as a foreign entity, right? So in this way, they can assure that there is a legal connection also with a free market, which is Hong Kong. They can legally send money in and out of China through a legal channel, and carry business on not only in China but also internationally.
Right.
So we do this for a lot of trading companies, import and export companies that basically deal with the Western markets.
Lovely. So what are the actually requirements that you need to follow to get started with opening a company in China, for example, a WOFE company in China?
Okay. Well, there's not many requirements actually until the point, because China is very funny, right? They don't tell you everything at the beginning.
Yes.
So you go step by step until you reach an obstacle, but you're already halfway done. But then you cannot get back. It's weird, and that's what we try to guide people in, because legally everyone can create a company. Basically, just need your passport copy, an address proof, and that's it. Then you go through the name check. That you provide 3 names, then one of them will be approved. So anyone can create a company.
So basically the same process as Hong Kong, right? So Hong Kong, Macau is kind of following the same process. Like it's very easy. You just give your passport, 3 company names, your address, and then usually a company will help you to do all the paperwork and
That's
to
correct.
apply for
Yeah.
the company, right? Okay, perfect. And usually how long it takes for a foreign enterprise in China to be done with all the paperwork? And I'm sure it varies from different types of businesses, but let's say just a regular business, not complicated.
Exactly. Well, I'm pretty sure if you search around in the industry, that you'll find that the average time for setting up a WOFE, it's somewhere between 40 days to 60 days. But actually, we do it in around 10 days.
Okay, that's amazing.
The WOFE. We are also probably the only foreign licensed CPA in Guangdong, so it gives us more easy access to all the windows. But usually 10 days, if the client's information are provided, we can complete it.
Wonderful. And then how to set up the bank account. So it is an easy process. If some of you probably are wondering, because Hong Kong right now it's very complicated to set up a bank account. So what is the bank account setup situation in China once you already opened your WOFE company?
Yeah, so now it's of course it's getting stricter and stricter, but that's also government has been deploying some policies to filter the kinds of talents that they want to hold in China. And now China is currently targeting a higher target, not only for bank accounts, but also to get your work permits. They require at least a bachelor, and you need to have a couple of years work experience. And even though you're sometimes subject to an interview from the talent department, and you have to present your business plan and talk a little about your business. So definitely they are targeting a higher background people. Now for the bank account, that kind of links with what I was saying in the beginning, because everyone can create a company, and that's the easy part. But and actually for the address to register the company, you can even give, because I know many people just provide their home address to create a company, and that's possible. You can provide your residential address to register a company with, but then the problem starts after, because you cannot do anything with it. The first step will be opening a bank account. So when you go to the bank, the first thing the bank will ask you is, where's your office located? And well, if you provide an address, a residential address, well, first the bank will know, and they will not authorize it, because they cannot give bank accounts to companies that are registered in where you live, or in residential buildings. And second, right now the banks are pretty much doing also what we call it office inspection. So they come to the premises of your office address, and they also make sure that your logo is on the wall, that you have people working, because even if you provide an office address, the bank wants to make sure it's a real office address, not a virtual office, or like a shared office with like thousand companies with that just a registered address. So they want to make sure it's a really the premises are real, and the people are working there. The business basically is real. Also, there's another way to check this, which is through what we call the red book, which is basically is like a house leasing certificate that kind of provides it kind of proves that the premises that you're using are for office use. That also is okay. But just to be simple, right now it's not okay to provide a residential address or an office address that is not a physical address. The banks are checking very strictly on this. Besides this, the bank account opening should be quite straightforward and simple.
Okay, and in terms of employees, like I remember some time ago we had some rules where it had to have at least 2 people employed. Has anything changed on that? What is the current situation in terms of hiring people?
Well, there's no,
Requirements.
the law doesn't say nothing about it, about how many people you have to employ. So legally, if you are just employing yourself, should be okay. I mean, all businesses start with at least one person, right? Legally, they don't say that. What I can tell you is from our experience, if you want to, for example, give more work permits in your company to, let's say, foreigners, let's say you have a foreign partner, or you are, maybe it's a group of 3 or 4 friends, foreign friends that you want to start a company. I would say that after the second work permit, the talent department will start to inquire why you don't have Chinese staff employed, why you keep adding foreigners to your company without Chinese staff employed. So I would say after the second, you should have a ratio of at least 51%, 49% on Chinese versus foreigners employed in your company, just to add substance to your company and to basically make government happy. I mean, in the end, they want to employ their local labor force.
Yeah, right. And so what are the costs involved today? What is ranging from to start a WOFE company in China right now?
Well, every company charges a different price.
Right.
I would say that a pretty fair price to start up a WOFE, and this is only for the company incorporation. There's nothing else. Will be between 12 and 18,000. This is at least my experience from the market. So anywhere from these prices you can find. But again, you have to consider costs for accounting, because a WOFE you need a legal accountant that does the books every month. You need to account for your office address, which in case you don't have a real office, you need to hire one. We also provide those services, self-service offices that have the leases that are good for the company licenses. And so basically you have to account for those 2 other costs when you created a WOFE.
Okay, and we are talking about RMB here, right?
That's correct.
So it's 12,000 to 18,000 RMB.
That's correct.
So that's not dollars.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And let's talk about what is the best. We already kind of covered that in terms of different businesses. You need to understand what exactly we're doing, so you will know where to set your company based on what your business is. So either China, Hong Kong, or Macau. So let's talk about Hong Kong and Macau, for example. What do you think is it's a better option right now? And why Macau? I know we were discussing the other day, and I haven't been hearing many people actually talking about opening companies in Macau. So I'm very, very interested to hear from you about Macau as well as an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So Hong Kong has been the main choice for entrepreneurs to set up their holding company or the company that deals with the international part of the business. But due to the last 2 years crackdown on tax evasion, money laundering, there's been a lot of stricter policies, especially banking wise. A lot of accounts have been closed. HSBC, they were under a big polemic case with American people holding off a lot of their funds in Hong Kong. So now there's a lot of these FATCA compliance forms every time an American wants to come to China, or in this case Hong Kong, to open a bank account. The auditing now in Hong Kong is much more difficult to do and to get approved. They'll go to every little detail, to every receipt and invoice for every transaction. and many foreign companies just could not comply with it because they were just used to what was being done in the last 10, 20 years. So right now, we're actually shifting most of our clients from Hong Kong to Macau as a better option to, especially on the banking side, because the whole purpose of you having a holding in a jurisdiction like Hong Kong or Macau is basically about banking, right? The ability for you to carry international business and to receive and make payments. In this case, in this situation, we have been finding that Macau banking is much more convenient. It works pretty well. So we have the tools. The internet banking is good. We also have very good international banks. You know, Bank of China is also in Macau. ICBC. You also have a couple of Portuguese banks because of the connection with Portugal. So there's a lot of Portuguese banks also in Macau that you can use. Until now, we didn't have much complaints. Also, in terms of tax benefits, Hong Kong Macau can be as good as Hong Kong. Actually, in Macau, the first 600,000 Macau dollars profit are free of tax, and then you have a 12% profits tax on all onshore business and zero on offshore. Just like Hong Kong, so it's pretty similar, the policies, but I think Macau it's even better.
Wow, yeah. So this could be another option if you're trying to open a company in Hong Kong and are afraid that you won't be able to get a bank account. You can try Macau, for example. That's very interesting. So, what are the costs related to opening the company compared with Hong Kong? Is that cheaper? And what are the timeline as well that we are talking about?
Yeah, so setting up a Hong Kong account, a Hong Kong company is cheaper than Macau. The incorporation process in general, it's cheaper, to be honest.
Okay.
A Hong Kong company now can cost something between 6 and 8-9,000. Maybe sometimes some companies might charge you even more. And a Macau company will basically cost double that. Okay, though also the incorporation process is fairly faster in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, we get it done in 7 days usually. In Macau, you need around 20 days.
Okay.
So, but this is the incorporation process. Okay. So in terms of banking, of course, then having the Macau banking would be also much more easier to set up. In Hong Kong, I'm not gonna say it's impossible because it's not, but it's very difficult. Sometimes you need just 10-20 days just to make the appointment.
Wow. Okay.
Then you go to the bank, you bring a lot of documents already, and then they might ask you even a ton more documents. They might even ask more documents, more invoices or contracts proving existing business. It can get quite complicated, so many people just eventually just give up. In Macau, you also have to provide supporting documents, of course, but we found out that the compliance it's more straightforward, and I think they're more friendly towards international business.
Okay, perfect. So there's anything that you could advise people, something that they need to be aware of before they start a company in China, Hong Kong, or Macau?
My best advice to start a business in China will be always to think about what are you offering. Is it a product? Is it a service? If it's a product, is your product unique or not? If you're providing anything unique, you should always try to protect first your trademark or your IP rights before even starting the company. This is what I advise everyone. And many people do this mistake very often. They start a company, they just think, let's see how it goes. Let me make some money until I grow. But they forget, when you do that, you are seriously probably can compromise your old business. Because once you start making money, once you start being a little successful, you cannot forget that there's always a lot of people out there trying to make profit on you as well and trying to take advantage on you. Just like any business, any competitive business environment. So you might lose the opportunity to then protect your trademark, your image, your branding, and then your whole business plan goes down, right? So I'd say protect first your rights, whatever they are, IP rights, branding rights, trademark, whatever, and then start your company. And basically just, then we, of course, if it's a services company, we usually go for a consulting company. If it's a trading company, we go for a trading company. And we have to, of course, understand what are the business plans of the client.
Right. Are you providing those other services as well, such as IP and?
Yeah, we do all that. So IP,
Amazing.
registration, trademark, company setup, and also we do all the kinds of licensing that you need after a company is done. Let's say you want to open a restaurant, right? So we make usually a F&B company for that, and then if you have on-site premise, let's say you want to open a restaurant, then we need to apply for an F&B license to you. You might need also a liquor license to sell alcohol, or a beer license if you want to have beer on tap, maybe a distribution licenses if you're thinking on reselling your beverages or your alcohol to third parties. So all these other licensings which are specific to your business, we can also help you.
And how hard it is to get those licenses right now in the F&B area? Is that too complicated? I know a lot of people that also wants to import goods into China and plan to open a company in China to handle that. How hard is to get that as a foreign company?
Well, I wouldn't say it's very hard. It's just, I think, because there's a lot of lack of information. So especially foreigners in China, they feel they're lost in all this process. It can be quite complicated if you don't understand, and there's not a very easy and specific article that tells you exactly how to do step by step, and the government doesn't tell you that as well.
That's very true.
But that's our service. That's what we try to make it easy and simple. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but for example, to have a F&B license, you need to appoint at a certain point. You need to appoint a Chinese person that will take, for example, some trainings at the government for safety and health standards. She will go for a training of 1 or 2 days to get this certification. She'll be the responsible to make sure that your establishment is running according to standards, either if it's fire, escape, as I was saying, safety, health concerns, and so on.
So it has to be a Chinese person, right? It cannot be the owner of the...
Cannot be. You can be the owner of the company and the legal representative, but for some local licenses, you need to appoint a Chinese to take these trainings. This will be the responsible person.
So so I have to be very careful, because I'm sure there's a lot of costs involved into getting those type of license. And for some of you that may not know, China has a huge number of people leaving jobs every single day. So they don't stay very long in the same job. And this is an issue that a lot of companies face here. They cannot keep up with the working conditions, or maybe the salary, because the life quality, life cost is increasing, especially here in Shenzhen, south of China, has been increasing like crazy. And so a lot of companies cannot keep up with employees' retention rate here. So if you are hiring a Chinese person, it's important for you to make sure that this person is going to stay long term, especially if you're going to get some of those licenses. Because otherwise, every time this person leaves, you have to train a new person, right? And I'm sure there's more costs coming up your way.
That's correct.
Okay, right. Anything else you'd like to add into our conversation today?
Well, I can tell you that starting a business in China, it's still, I think, it's a hard decision, especially for someone that they don't, either you're in China and you're thinking about coming to China, or you are in China but working for someone and you want to start your own business. So it's always a tough decision to make, but I would say that it's still very good opportunities out there. And if you have a good product or a good service, You know, China has a very unique characteristic, which is being able to reach instantly a 1.3 billion people market. So of course, it's very good, it's very appealing for many companies. And doing the right way from the beginning can save you a lot of hassle, a lot of trouble in the future. So I mean, that's why we are here to guide people the best way.
Lovely. And the good thing about is that that I like about you guys is that you guys are also a foreign company, and you have amazing Chinese people as well. So it's part of the China business. If you're trying to enter China, it's important that your partnership with somebody that understands your mindset as a foreigner, but also has the Chinese background and culture to back you up and to make sure that you are following all the procedures and requirements for the China business. So thank you so much, Nuno, for joining us today. Where can people find more about you?
Well, we have a website, which I think we'll be putting a link on the page. We have a website. I'll also be leaving my contacts. We have also a WeChat official account.
Okay.
I know maybe some foreigners which are not in China yet, they might not use WeChat. So we have a website for that. We also, I'll be making an email available, which is solfaro@gmail.com. So people can reach us and ask us information, proposals, and we can start guiding them.
Wonderful. What is the Chinese ID for the official account?
That's a very good question. But you know, because in China we always use the QR codes, right,
we use the QR.
to scan.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what's the ID, but
That's okay.
we'll make sure we'll post it somewhere.
Okay, okay, no worries. So we'll try to find the link and put it below this video somewhere, so you guys can go check it out more about what Solfato is doing. And I believe this could be a great partner if you're trying to enter the Chinese market and have a company either in Hong Kong, Macau, or China and Shenzhen. So you guys are also opening companies not only in the south of China, right? But
No,
other areas.
Exactly. We open all over China, all over mainland China, Macau, and Hong Kong.
Okay, perfect. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Leave any comments below if you have any about what we just discussed today. I'll be happy to reply and give you some feedback on my experience as well. So thank you all so much for joining, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.